Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 2 of B38, our podcast on Korean football on our YouTube channel, Below the 38 Football and Adventures in South Korea, for episode 2 of the brand new season. My name is Andrew. I'm back again, and I'm joined today by Michael. Hello, Michael.
How you doing?
I'm good, and anybody who watched the first video will have seen Luke on the first one, the Incheon United fan. As I mentioned in that first show, I think what separates our podcast from a lot of the other ones that are out at the moment is just simply that we're living in South Korea. We attend a lot of football matches, home and away. We get on trains, buses, get in our car, and we go up and down the country to watch our teams. But also the fact that we support 3 different teams. Luke has a team in K-League 1 Incheon United. Mike and I are going to be stuck in K-League 2 for the 3rd straight season. I'm a Blue Wings fan, and Mike supports
A perennial K2 club being Ansan.
Ansan Greeners. We might have a little bit of a chat about Ansan Greeners later on in today's episode. But as I mentioned in the previous one as well, we're trying to keep these around about 15 minutes because we know that podcasts that go on too long, you're just more likely to dip in and out. So a quick run through of the upcoming fixtures in K-League 2, the teams that are in it, just our thoughts on general expansion. That's what's coming up in today's show. But before we get into that, as this is a brand new venture for the 3 of us, Luke, Mike, and myself, what are you hoping to achieve from this YouTube channel, Mike, and the podcast?
What I'm looking for is to cover the stories and narratives from the stands and around the grounds as the K-League 2 season actually unfolds. Because these days, apps are giving you all the data, everything you need to know which is happening on the pitch. But what we don't get is the real essence of football. And that's what we want to give you in this pod. Over the course of the season, the story of the K-League 2.
And we hope to have slightly better content than simply a Suwon Blue Wings jersey wrapped around the sofa, Bucheon FC 1995 jersey wrapped around the sofa, and a very old Songnam FC jersey wrapped around the sofa. We will be going to a lot of matches this season. We'll have our cameras with us. We're going to be filming fans, crowd noise, crowd culture, food, drink, all the stuff that makes K-League just that little bit special. But let's wrap up. Let's not wrap up yet. It's a bit too early, Mike. Let's continue on with the podcast and talk about the teams that are in K-League 2 for this season. There are 17 teams, which is the largest number ever and another huge increase since the COVID era. The 17 teams are as follows: Suwon Samsung Blue Wings, Seoul Eland, Songnam FC, Jeonnam Dragons, Gimpo FC, and Busan iPark. They made up the top half of the table last season. Then we have Cheongnam Asan, Hwaseng FC, who are in their 2nd season of K-League 2, Gyeongnam FC, Cheonbuk Cheongju, Cheonan City, Ansan Greeners. And now we've lost Incheon United and Bucheon FC. They were promoted, relegated from K-League 1, or Suwon FC. So we'll have our first ever Suwon derby in the 2nd division of Korean football. And Daegu FC. But we're also joined by 3 brand new clubs at this level for 2026. They are Yongin FC, who are just brand new in total. They never existed before this year. Gimhae FC 2008, and Paju, the recently renamed Paju Frontier. Right, so what does the season look like, Mike, with 17 teams in it?
Well, the first obvious change is there's now just one home and away fixture, which does make the away fixture seem a little bit more special, I guess, because last season, visiting the Tancheon twice, going to Mokdong twice, it kind of sucked the life a little bit out of the excitement of that individual away fixture. And also, well, one thing that has not changed, however, is we've still got 9 o'clock Sunday fixtures, which, now that we've got less away games to go to, or at least we've not got any repeats, it's going to be quite difficult. I mean, Ansan travelled to Daegu at 7 o'clock, on a Sunday evening. I'm not quite sure what the logic is around that. So, but that's probably the biggest change, except of course for one huge difference, which directly affects Ansan Greeners in the fight for not finishing bottom, and that is a relegation has been introduced from this season. Of course, it's not total jeopardy. The team does not automatically go down. There's a relegation playoff with the K3, and also the K3 team has to desire, so to speak, a K-League 2 license. So even the K3 winners may not actually be progressing anyway to the K2, but nevertheless there's that extra bit of jeopardy.
Yeah, there is. It definitely makes it exciting. Just too often in recent seasons, by June, half the teams in K League 2 had basically nothing to play for, so that will definitely not be the case this year. Let's have a look at the fixtures then. The season starts this Saturday, which is February the 28th. It's the same weekend as K League 1 is starting. There are 2 games on Saturday and there's 2 games on Monday, which is a bank holiday over here, and then the rest of the fixtures will be on Sunday. We have a potentially early relegation 6-pointer to start the season. It's Gimhae against Ansan Greeners. Following on from that, a potential championship 6-pointer in the first round of the season. It's Suwon Bluings against Seoul Eland. A good few games then on Sunday. Chongbuk Cheongju did a lot of recruitment over the winter. They host Suwon FC, recently relegated. Daegu also went down. They host Hwasong FC for the first time ever in K-League football. Yongin, the latest new team, they host Cheonan City FC. There's a bit of an old school derby in the south coast between Gyeongnam and Jeonnam Dragons. And then on Monday, Cheongnam Asan, who nearly got promoted in 2023, they host the other new team, Paju Frontier. And the 4:30 kickoff on Monday again is a bit of an old school K-League derby between Busan and Songnam, 2 former K-League 1 and AFC Champions League winners, playing at 4:30 on a Monday in K-League 2. Which game are you looking forward to seeing, Mike?
Well, not to be too biased to my own club, but I think one of the standout fixtures is actually one of the season openers on the Saturday, and that is Ansan's visit to Gimhae, because Gimhae won the K3 last season. So seeing how they get on in the K-League is going to be a good marker to see just how promoted teams may actually fare when they do come up to the K2 in the future. And also Ansan finished bottom of the K2 last season. So you've got the K3 winners going up against the K2 losers, if you like. So it's going to be a real good sense of what gulf there may still exist between K2 and K3, and also see just what fortunes Ansan may have, and whether you said it's going to be a relegation 6-pointer, or with Gimhae having the momentum of becoming a new team, will they actually be able to push up the table and make a real standout marker with this first game?
Very good, yeah. I've never been to Gimhae either. I know we're going to talk about them a little bit in a couple of minutes' time. Looks like a nice stadium. It's a part of Korea I've never even been to either. It's anybody who's unfamiliar with Gimhae, it's sort of locked between Busan and Changwon, between Busan I Park and Gyeongnam FC on the south coast. Are you going to this match?
Unfortunately, I've got other footballing commitments on the Saturday morning, and it's a heck of a bus trip. I know the Ansan do have a fan bus leaving the Hwa Stadium at 5:30 a.m. to get to that afternoon kickoff, so it is quite a journey down to the southeast. And unlike Busan, it's not actually really on a KTX or major train line station, so yeah, it's definitely something you got to have a lot of freedom and pre-planning to get to.
Yeah, and it raises the point that you mentioned earlier on. The Blue Wings are playing there in March, and I can't get to that game for family reasons, and that means that I would lose the only opportunity I would have had to go to Gimhae this season, which is a pity. I'd love to go down. I wish there was a game on in June or September where the weather's really nice before it gets too hot, but unfortunately it's not to be. The game I'm looking forward to, again, probably a little bit biased in this, but I think when the fixtures came out, the one that really stood out was the Suwon Blue Wings against Seoul Eland. These two teams, in my opinion, are going to finish first and second. Take your pick in what order that's going to be. The Blue Wings have a dreadful record against Seoul Eland since they got relegated. 6 matches, 5 losses, 1 win. And I was doing a bit of research on the preview for the K-League on the website, and I think Eland have scored 13 in that process. In the process too, I think 5 for the Blue Wings. Like, a few of those games haven't even been competitive. It's been absolutely terrible stuff. And one of Eland's wins, their first win in Big Bird last season, or season before last now, I guess, 2024, that brought the end of Yeom Gi-hun's managerial reign with the Blue Wings. So they need 3 points because of their awful record against Soliland. But then also just the fact that they have a new management team. There's a lot of excitement about the new players. Soliland have recruited well again, year on year on year. After being a bit of a laughing stock in K League 2, they're now genuine title challengers. So should be a big game. They're looking at, I was having a look at this earlier on today, and a decent enough crowd. I've seen that the upper tiers of most of the blocks have been opened. Now, not all the seats are going to be available, but the lower bowl will be sold out in the home end, plus a few other seats in the upper end. And Seoul are bringing about 300 fans with them. It's a pity it's not more, but it should be a great game. So that is going to be on Saturday at 4:30, straight after Mike's game in Gimhae. So we're not a huge amount to look forward to over the rest of the weekend, I guess, then.
Again, it'll take a few weeks before we really settle. Too many teams have wholesale changes over the winter in the K2, especially mid-table to bottom. So normally you don't really get a sense of which teams are actually going to be competitive outside the obvious contenders until maybe match day 6, 7 or 8 begins.
Agreed. Look, you've talked about it, danced around the topic with Gimhae. Why don't you just give us a little bit of a feel of who are these 3 new teams? How have they ended up here? What are their names? I guess what are their locations? What do you want to say about the 3 new clubs?
So as you've already alluded to, Gimhae are located in the southeast, and they now have a bit of a nice little triangle of matches there with Gyeongnam and Busan being close by. Of these 3, these are the ones which are basically the biggest team. They opened last season in the K3 with almost 8,000 fans, which is more than some K1 games can muster, to be honest. And they were established in 2008, so they're also one of the older teams at this level. And they've actually always had the same badge, and that's just changed, which perhaps reflects their ambition. You may notice that if you look, the Gimhae badge has a crown on the top, reflecting the royal history of that area. But the biggest point to make is they won the K League 3 in 2025, and they've had other successes at the second and third tiers throughout, but they've never played at the recognised K League 2. However, they used to play against Anstan Hallelujah back in the old National League. So they're the team coming up which actually has a bit of history behind them. Paju do also somewhat. They are Paju Frontier now. They were Paju Citizen. They've also changed their badge, established in 2012. They haven't really impressed in their history so far. They finished 10th out of a possible 15 teams in the K League 3 last season. I did have a chance to go in and take a look at them, where they actually beat the K3 runners-up Shihung in Shihung. So, but there's maybe some potential there, but I expect a lot of wholesale changes in the squad there as well as they've come up to the K2. And then there's Yongin, a totally new team, which I think is to accommodate the huge, somewhat impressive construction in Yongin, being the Yongin Mirror Stadium. There was a Yongin FC in the past, 2010 to 2016, but there's actually no connection here. This is simply a total Genesis team, which has been placed directly into the K2 from the off. So not really a lot to go to from there. So I think the team with at least a historical pedigree that, if you want to get behind any of the new teams, would of course be Gimhae.
Yeah, good roundup. I don't really have anything else to add to that. I mean, looking at the relative strength of the squads, it's a pity that Gimhae and Paju, being the 2 established clubs to have come up from K3, are likely to struggle this season, whereas Yongin, who, like you said, are a brand new club, they should be actually okay. They went heavy on recruitment in the wintertime. A lot of experienced, older, Twilight era type of guys have been picked up. The squad will have a lot of players who you will recognise from, like Sung Jun Ho, he's the captain formerly of Incheon United, Kim Inu, formerly of the Blue Wings. There are a lot of guys there, and some of these guys have played international football too. So I think they're going to do pretty well, just based on the fact that their squad is so good. Their squad already looks like it's a top 6 squad in K League 2, and it's a pity because, again, like you were saying, the more established sides, unfortunately, are likely to struggle. I've been to Paju and I've been to Yongin, the stadium, but I've never obviously seen Yongin FC. Have you seen any of these clubs before?
Again, I've obviously not seen Yongin, but have seen Gimhae a few times, but on the visits to the Water Stadium in the old National League. I did do a preview for the Ansan fanzine regarding this and the history between the two clubs. But in terms of the squad makeups today, Ansan is a totally different team, and the squads are incomparable. As I said, I saw Padua last season. One thing that does concern me for Padua is, as far as I'm aware, they will have the lowest budget in the K-League 2 this season. And of course, as you just alluded to, Yongin will actually have quite a strong budget. And of course, budgets do make a difference, with Incheon running away with it last time, but not all the time. And if we think about Suwon Blue Wings and what has been an unexpected third season in the second division.
Yes, it doesn't always work out. In case you're wondering, I probably should have mentioned this earlier, but Gimpo FC are the team that have a bye in the first round. Gimpo are probably pretty happy with how the fixture list has shown up. They're probably the most isolated club in K-League 2, but now they have a bit of a Han River Derby thing, potentially, if you're a bit of a rivalry anyway, with Paju Frontier. Look, it's time to wrap this one up. If, as an Ansan fan, as a football fan, as a K-League fan, how are you feeling about the in as few amount of words as possible, how excited are you for the start of K-League 2?
For my own team, not at all. But for the season, I'm pretty excited to see some new teams, see some new places.
Great. I'm pretty excited. Probably saw about football again. The weather's got better, but I think 17 teams is too many. There should never be a bye week. There are some teams I just never want to see again, but can't wait. I think Blue Wings are going to win the league. I think Ansan are going to finish 16th. On our two clubs, what's your prediction for Ansan first and then Suwon?
I'm going to be a little more ambitious and go for 14th. Often with the second division, it's all about the forward recruitment, and some clubs just click with the forwards. Often the defences are typically not too bad in the second division. It's the forwards that make a big difference. If that clicks for Ansan, then we can do well. If it doesn't, I'll take 16th.
Great. Well, look, we're going to be back here next week. Myself and Mike, and then Luke will be back for the K-League 1 podcast next week. Thank you so much for listening to the first week of B38, our new YouTube channel, Below the 38. Football adventures in South Korea, and we're going to be doing some adventurizing this weekend. Thanks so much for watching. See you next week. Goodbye.